So I didn't need my wife to do that video, but I like her to have with me. I'm gonna talk about coaching. So I suck about coaching. I did suck about coaching, and the reason why I suck about coaching is because I was coaching like how you will coach a white belt. So I was telling you, put the hands here, put the arms here, and that can be effective. But I found at a certain level, what the coach has to do is to do a mental fight with the opposite opponent. So what I'm trying to do is to give positive vibe to my students and negative vibe to my opponents. Of course, there's limits. You cannot say bad words. You cannot make fun of the opponent. Okay, so you need to have a certain respect. But there's some words that you can say. For example, you should always be positive. Like, for example, one thing I like to do is that when my partner make point, one sentence I like to say is like, keep your point. And when the guy attack and my students avoid the move, I said, he has nothing, don't worry, he has nothing. This is to reinforce my students and to break mentally my opponent. I'm not being mean, I'm just trying to encourage, okay? Or when my student is losing a point, I'm like, don't worry, it's nothing. Just focus on your game. Everything gonna be fine. Don't worry. And when I feel that my student is gonna go sweep the guy resists a little bit, I said, you got it, because I'm trying to seek out in the brain of his opponent that it's really useless to fight the sweep. You're gonna get swept no matter what. So that's a little trick that I do, because you need to understand that when you coach, you are not just giving advice. You have to imagine that you are in the fight with your students. You try to win the fight mentally. And if you win the fight mentally, if you help your student to be strong mentally, you increasing the amount of the probability of victory of your students. Another thing that I just read and I think is very important, and I don't do enough, and sometimes I also forget, is that you need to say to your students when the fight is close to the end. Yeah, I forget all the time. Huh? So, and this is very important because if you say to a student that when he's close to the end, if he lose or if he win, if he's losing or if he's winning, he's gonna have more energy because he can see the end of the tunnel. So I help him a lot. And there is some study, scientific study, not in jiu-jitsu but in other sport, like for people that do bike, like people that bike, for example, they do way better when they are close to the end because they can see the end of the tunnel. They are like, oh, I just have to do 1 kilometer or 10 kilometers if you're a professional. I don't know how many, but I'm close to the end, so just need to push it. And that's something important I don't do enough. And you need also to be here for your students before and after the fight. So before the fight, you need to reassure him the best you can do, saying this is just tournament, don't worry, don't stress about it. Even before the competition, the week before the competition is like, it's just a competition, who cares? Just go, because a lot of time what happens is that people stress and they burn so much energy the week before the tournament because they start to get stressed, or they start to sleep way less, they start to have anxiety. So you need to relax him. So the part of coaching is not only you go and you tell him what to do, is that you help him mentally to get ready, and when he's on the mat, you try to reinforce his mental, and you try to in the politically correct way to reduce the willing of his opponent. And yes, that's what you should try to do. So you should always try to don't say don't lose, because don't lose, you're always using the word losing, so it's bad. It's like if he's losing, it's just don't worry, just do your best, just do everything you can, just throw everything you have, and that's it. And that's gonna help a lot the people that you coach. And that's it. think about it?
It just makes sense.
It's just funny that I say that when I don't do it with you because I forgot most of the time. Yeah.
No, we had a huge discussion about this.
Yeah, no, you're right.
And this is exactly what I told you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just funny that you're realizing it now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I realized it by also coaching you because I realized
Because
that.
you used to always say, "Don't let him pass. Don't let him do that."
Yeah.
And then I would say, "Please tell me the time." No, you don't need to know the time. You need to just fight the whole way. And one time you did not tell me the time during an entire fight. And I remember I was just like, all you have to do is just tell me the time. And
No, and you
we had
have.
a whole discussion about that. We had a whole discussion about using positive words and not negative words as well.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that you get it now.
No, but you know what?
I'm very happy because I thought it was a lost cause. Honestly, I was like, okay, well.
The funny thing is, one time I was very young and I was coaching a guy, and he was getting beat up, and I started to be quiet, silent. So this is bad. When you are a coach and you start to be silent, this is already a bad vibe that you give to your students. So don't be, if you always talking, you have to keep the same tempo, because if you slow down the tempo, this means you start to not believe in him. And maybe he doesn't realize it consciously, but subconsciously, maybe he can feel it, and maybe he's gonna lose because of that. Okay, so you need to be constant. But one time I was coaching a guy, and he got caught in armbar. And I remember I was like, "Oh my God, it cuts you very well. Wow, that's a deep armbar." and I said that to the guy that, of course, stopped like 2 seconds after. And he was so mad at me. He was like, "Yeah, thank you. Thank you to tell me how good my opponent was." And yeah, I suck in coaching, but I learned how to coach. I learned how to coach when I understand that it's not what you say that count. Of course, you can give some advice and it can help, but it's not too much what you say. Is the vibe that you throw is, you have to be positive. Okay, you don't have to tell him how to fight.
It's not about telling them how to fight. It's about explaining to them how to keep mentally, how to still be there and in the zone and be going for it.
Exactly. Sometimes you can tell them stuff, but it has to be very generic. Like, move your legs or move more. Like, for example,
breathe.
Or breathe. Yeah, stuff very simple. And yeah, that's it. That was coaching 101.